courses that I direct. I'm going to start with a Master's in Toxicology. So this is the study of poisons. It's a one-year course. In the first semester, we have taught material and also lab-based training. In the second semester, we have similar activities, but much more advanced activities where we delve more deeply into the topic. And the final semester, which is a summer semester, is an independent research project where you will complete independent research under the supervision either of an academic at NUIG Galway, but we also send students outside the university to companies, either to small pharma companies, to chemoinformatic companies, and to regulators, for example, the European Food Safety Agency, which is in Italy. Historically, we've actually sent people to countries outside Ireland for their project. Obviously, COVID has had a big impact on that this year, and that hasn't happened. But we fully intend to restart those sorts of activities once things return to normal. So my expectation would be if you were to start in 2021, the very best students get offered a chance to go to work like places like the European Food Safety Agency in Italy, the Fraunhofer in Germany, and some other places outside Ireland. The reason why we're offering toxicology, both this course and the other course I'm going to talk about, is that there's a dearth of toxicologists being trained, and there's a demand for toxicologists in the drug development industry, so in pharmaceutical industries, but also in regulatory bodies, in contracting houses who contract or take contracts from chemical companies for the assessment, safety assessment of chemicals. So it's a career where there are too few qualified toxicologists, and it means that your career prospects are varied. And we've sent our graduates to a range of different destinations, contract houses, pharmaceutical companies, regulators, all over Europe. Some of our other students go on to do research, so there's also a potential for going into a PhD at a later stage. If you have any questions or want to raise any issues, get any more information, please email me. It's shown on the slide here. So that's our toxicology course. The second course I direct is a course that has grown in the last couple of years in response to a specific demand from our colleagues in industry and at regulators who are looking for toxicologists who have an additional skill set in computational and coding approaches, as toxicology is becoming more and more a science driven by big data. Our response is colleagues in maths, chemistry, and pharmacology have built a new course where we do exactly that. So we give you multidisciplinary training. You get coding and computational approaches from maths. You get some chemistry from chemistry. And I deliver with my colleagues in pharmacology the training in toxicology and pharmacology. Again, we send students to complete their projects in real life situations, or most of them get real life situations at regulators, again in Italy, and also with a chemoinformatics company in Spain. And there are other opportunities in industry too for training in chemoinformatics. The situation in terms of the careers and job opportunities are similar to the ones I've outlined for toxicology for the same reasons. There are essentially, I'm actually in Europe, I'm unaware of any course like ours offering this sort of cross-disciplinary training, specifically in toxicology and chemoinformatics. The course is designed to take students who have a background in chemistry or a background in pharmacology and toxicology, but don't necessarily have coding. So the first semester is intense training in new coding skills for you, building on that in the second semester, and again, a third semester summer project. Again, there is a link there if you have any further questions, and please email me if you want any more information. I'm now going to pass on to a colleague of mine in pharmacology who's going to give you a brief overview of the Neuropharmacology Masters course. So Declan, if you want to step in.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. So my name is Declan McKernan. I'm the course director for Neuropharmacology. So Neuropharmacology is the study of drugs and medicines that target the central nervous system. So we cover therapies that target neurological conditions like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, as well as psychiatric conditions like schizophrenia, bipolar depression. And we look at the development of new medicines and new targets for these conditions. So the course has been running for over 20 years at NUIG Galway. It's the only Masters of its kind in Ireland. We tend to take students from a science background, but also students who maybe have done pharmacy at undergrad level, and also some psychology students as well who maybe want to go more into the different science aspects of the brain. Semesters are set up quite similarly to the Tox course in that our semester 1 gives a kind of an introduction to neuroscience, neuropharmacology with some lab practicals, and semester 2 provides more specific training then and topics that are I suppose more advanced and looking at new developments in the area of neuropharmacology. And finally then in semester 3 we have our project similar again to toxicology and many of the other courses here, where students will spend some time with research groups that are investigating specific research questions in neuroscience, neuropharmacology, etc. So normally our graduates will find employment in the pharmaceutical and biotechnology sector. They will find roles in hospitals as well in the development of clinical trials in more recent years. And also in the area of safety and regulation as well in the pharmaceutical industry. So we also have quite a number of students every year as well who go on to do further study in the forms of PhDs. So the course link is there on the slide. My email address is also there, and I'm also happy to answer any questions in the chat as well.
Thank you, Declan. Thank you. So I'm now going to move, I think, to my colleague Maria Tuhi, who's going to talk about the cancer research, which is a structured MSc.
As Howard has just kindly introduced, my name is Maria Tuhi and I'm based in biochemistry. And one of the MSc programs that are offered by biochemistry is this one in cancer research. Now, the cancer research MSc is it provides the participants in the program with a very detailed understanding and an introduction to the biology and I suppose the molecular aspects of cancer. So cancer in different cell types, different types of cancer, how cancer occurs. So in semester 1, the focus is on delivery of a series of taught modules, one of which basically is focused on an introduction to the molecular and cellular biology of cancer. And we also have another module then that introduces the clinical aspects of oncology and hematology. A third taught module is focused very much on introducing students to the technologies and the skills that are used in cancer biology and in cancer research. In semester 1, we also have the first research component introduced, because this is an introduction to the research aspects of cancer biology and experimental design. Now, this master's is actually different from maybe some of the other masters in that there's actually 2 semesters that are dedicated and focused to a research project. So we have there's 2 15-week periods that are basically during which the cancer research project is delivered. And this enables students to become part of a research group. Now, the research groups are in biochemistry, but across the School of Natural Sciences and across the College of Medicine. The course is designed to prepare students. So this 8-month-long independent research project will actually prepare students to be able to problem solve, to carry out scientific experiments that are directly related to understanding the biology of cancer cells, but also drugs and therapeutics that are used in the treatment of cancers. There's a broad range of career opportunities available to students from this program. The career opportunities include preparation for industry. So some of the companies, for example, that would employ graduates from the program would be companies like Abbott and Regeneron, as well as many others in the pharma sector. It also prepares students for research in the biomedical and biopharmaceutical sectors in clinical laboratories as well, as well as providing an excellent foundation for PhD and further research training in the biomedical sciences. So again, this is just a synopsis of the programme, but if you do wish to find some more detailed information, please contact the course director, Dr. Michael Carty. So Michael's email address here, or Michael's contact details are given on the website, so the discipline website links are here on the slide, but also you can email this email address, msccancerresearch@nuigalway.ie.
Thank you, Maria. So I'm going to move on to a colleague, Professor Conor O'Byrne, who's going to talk about Biotechnology Masters. Conor?
Thanks, Howard, but actually Mary Neil Laherty, who's here as well, she's going to present the MSc in Biotechnology. Apologies for confusing you, there's two of us here representing this program.
Okay.
Great. So the MSc in Biotechnology program is a long-standing program. It's going since 1982, and it's well established, and it's embedded in the discipline of microbiology. So it's a 12-month long course, like many other masters. It's divided into 3 different semesters. Semester 1 and 2 is where the thought elements are taken by each student. Within the thought elements, there's core and optional modules. Core modules such as the frontiers in biotechnology gives the students a span of knowledge in what is the techniques and tools that are required in the biotechnology field. And also there's a business module, which is very unique to this particular course here at NUI Galway, in the fact that it gives students, I suppose, the knowledge of biotechnology and the business field. So students undergo a little mini project where they work in groups, and they then take on a Dragon's Den type presentation towards the end of semester 1. This module really stands to students, particularly if they go out into industry afterwards. Having said that, following the thought and the modules in semester 1 and semester 2, the students undergo a research project in semester 3, which is a 5-month long project, and it can be internally within the university in the biological sciences area, or it can be within industry. So in the past couple of years, we've sought, and students have also sought out their projects within the industry field, and especially if they want to engage with industry, and if that's where they want to work upon completion of the course. So I suppose afterwards, where do students go after the MSc in Biotechnology course? They can go down the industry route, or if they want to go into academia, they can follow the PhD route also. So both avenues are open to students once they complete the Masters in Biotechnology. So I suppose if you have any questions, you can direct them towards us, or you can email me or Conor or Alex at any stage.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. And I'm going to now turn to a colleague. I hope I've got this right this time. I think this is Professor Paul Murphy, who's going to talk about the Masters of Science in Chemistry Research.
Okay, thanks, Howard. So the MSc in Chemistry Research it's a research Masters rather than a thought Masters, and it's a structured Masters, so it takes 1 year, or it can be done on a part-time basis over 2 years. Essentially what the structured Masters is 1/3 of coursework and 2/3 are for research. So the first 3 months from September to December is mostly coursework, and mainly the training is on a variety of techniques that are useful in chemistry and relevant for industry and so on, but also relevant for doing research. And there's also other courses which are, give transferable skills and so on to students, helping them to prepare for writing a dissertation and writing their thesis. And there's some other courses that are interesting that are given by industrial practitioners as well. 5 ECTS module, for example, and process chemistry, which is usually taught with the Masters as well. So after the first 3 months, the student then chooses a project, and the project can be with any particular research group or supervisor in the area of chemistry. So there's a huge diverse range of projects. So if students take a look at the staff in chemistry, they can see what interests they have. So for example, from analytical chemistry or environmental chemistry, we have a group working in energy chemistry. There are people who might, students who might be interested in synthesis, making new molecules that could be pharmaceuticals or potentially new pharmaceuticals in the future. There's groups working in the area of materials. There's a number of groups working in the area of medicinal chemistry, so that could be in designing or synthesizing new drugs and so on. So it gives you an 8-month research project from January to August. So an in-depth, if you like, chance to do research. That's one of the big, attractions for students is, and as it's a research program, it's also possible, if a student just particularly likes what they're doing, to transfer to a PhD. So while they're in the program, they could apply for PhD funding and so on, and they could transfer into a PhD program directly without graduating. In terms of careers, of the students that have been in the program, a number of them have got, jobs in industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, the biopharmaceutical industry, or the medical device industries. Analytical chemists or people who are trained in synthesis or valued in industry. Some students have gone on to do PhD studies within the school or in other areas as well. So it's a stepping stone into research and PhD programs as well. So that's information on the structured masters in chemistry research. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. So that sort of is an overview, a synopsis of the courses we're offering. I've got a slide here which captures the diversity of the employers. It's not maybe so obvious from the logos, but also there's a lot of geographical diversity here. So there are companies outside of Ireland, institutions outside of Ireland, UK, Spain, Italy, and this is only a selection. So our graduates have a range of different career options available to them after their courses. I think this is true for all of the courses you've heard about. And as scientific disciplines, many with a biomedical focus, there is a wealth of opportunities out there for all of the courses you've heard about. I'd just like to thank my colleagues for being so concise. What that means is we now have a significant amount of time to go to the chat. So if the visitors to the open day want to put their questions into chat, we'll do our best to answer them. Putting them into chat is the easiest. So I'll ask my colleagues, if they see a question that's relevant to them in the chat, they please go ahead and respond to that question. So I'm sort of throwing the doors open to questions. And I'm looking in the chat. I don't see too many questions as yet, but let's see. We're awaiting your questions. Have we all done such a wonderful, clear, convincing job?
Either that, Howard, or we've completely bamboozled everybody and confused everybody.
I'd like to think they're all filling out their applications as we speak.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to go with that. In regards, okay. So I have a question about venom, which I'm going to answer in the text. If you just keep your eyes, if my colleagues wouldn't be so kind as to keep their eyes on other questions and answer them as they come up. So.
So Howard, you are answering the questions by typing a response rather than...
If I do that, it means you guys can work in parallel. If okay. I speak as I answer my question, what I discovered last time was we end up with a stack of people not getting answers. So I intend to answer mine by text. And as you see something coming up for you which is relevant, please go ahead and type the answer.
Yeah, there's a question there from someone doing chemical engineering, doing a bachelor's in chemical engineering, asking about doing the MSc in biotechnology. Is it possible to be accepted into the program? You would need some biology in your undergraduate background to be accepted into the program. It's very biology based, the Masters in Biotechnology. So if you had no biology, you wouldn't really be able to, you wouldn't qualify to come onto the program. So you would need some biology in your degree as well.
Declan, there's a question there about neuropharmacology graduates. I think you can probably...
Yeah, I'm typing, yeah.
Excellent. Mary, can I pass that on to you? There's a question there. Is the MSc in Biomedical Science running this year?
Yeah, okay. Yes, the MSc in Biomedical Science is running this year. So there are two MScs in Biomedical Science. There's a full-time and there's another one by distance learning or part-time or a modular course. So the full-time in Biomedical Science is running this year, and we have reached the quota for applications this year. So in this particular academic year. Regards to the part-time Masters in Biomedical Science, the modular course, that is just that course is winding up at the minute, so we're not taking applications onto that particular program.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
So all you prospective students out there, we're all eager to give you advice, opinions, information. Mary, I'll pass that on to you. Biomedical Science recognized by ACLMSM.
Unfortunately, the Biomedical Science Masters is not accredited, no. That'd be more med lab science that you'd have to do, so maybe a postgrad in England or GMIT run an undergraduate course. Okay.
I can see that there's a good crowd of you in the meeting, so it looks like I've got close to 20 odd of you, and only some of you asked questions. So I really encourage you. This is an opportunity. You've got us on the spot.
And we're charging by the minute, aren't we, Howard?
If we are, I'm not getting the money. Are there presentations today for research masters and PhDs? I'm not entirely sure what the correct answer to that is, but actually finding research masters and PhDs has a sort of different structure to the taught masters programs. The others can chime in, because I suspect there's some different opinions about the best way to approach this. But I would say, from my experience, the traditional way to approach this is first to make contact with a potential supervisor, either because you've seen that they've advertised PhD positions on something like Euraxis, for example, is one important website where many PhDs will be advertised. To contact them, there's usually the initial stages of that are more like securing a job than finding a place on a taught master's course or a master's course. You can also keep your eyes open for fellowship programs like the Hardiman program that NUIG runs. But all of those approaches really require you first to build a relationship with a potential academic whose research you find interesting, that enthuses you. I can see there's a question about biotechnology that I might ask either Connor or his colleagues to answer. And I'd encourage, if others have advice on PhDs and acquiring or finding them, please chime in. I've got one particular view. There are other approaches to finding PhDs.
Oh, I totally agree with your view of it there, Howard. I think certainly at the PhD level, finding linking up with the supervisor who's working in the area that you're interested in is really key to it. Unfortunately, the deadline for the Hardiman scholarships this year has already passed. It was 12th of February, so it's, next year we'll be open again. To answer the question on biotechnology there, is it common to get projects in industry, or would projects within the college be more common? Actually, in this year's course, it's exactly split down the middle. Half of the students are going externally for their research projects, and half of them are staying in the university for research projects. And we have we allow students to find their own industrial projects if they are able, and if not, we have some connections as well where we're able to provide some industrial projects ourselves. So there's a variety of options there for that.
I would echo that. For my part, for the toxicology and the chemoinformatics courses, we try to recruit as many industry or other sources of project supervisors, but we also ensure that only the very high scoring students win those places. So you shouldn't view a course as offering those places as necessarily a guarantee of being offered such a prestigious project. That you're working in the real world, and the NUIG would like to send its best students to those sorts of placements. So that there's an opportunity there. It's an encouragement and a motivation to do as well as you possibly can on the course, if you didn't have it already. So I'm just looking, I'm falling a little bit behind. There's a question about SUSI and fees, and I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I suggest the best way to approach that is to actually ask the fees office at the university to get the best advice. I don't see any reason why you can't use SUSI funding towards that, but I'm not an expert on registration nor the fees and how they're structured and paid. I don't know if any of my colleagues have any more information about SUSI grants and payment of fees. There's the university office. Contact either I would say the fees or the registration office. They can give you advice on how to think about that. So there's a question about the MSc in biochemistry. I don't know if you saw that, Maria. Good.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm busily typing here.
Typing, excellent. Thank you. When is the deadline to apply for the Cancer Research MSc in Neuropharmacology? Are you typing, Declan? Do you want to?
I've answered already.
Thank you.
Yeah.
More efficient than me. I can see it now. There, it's popped up. I have a biomedical degree in Galway and want to work at companies. Okay, so Shane Franklin has a question about engineers being the desire. I think I'll run the risk of speaking for my colleagues again, and they can disagree vociferously. I think this question is clearly in part dependent on the sorts of jobs that you want. I think the medical device industry clearly probably is going to have a more biomedical engineering slant. But for example, I know we've had graduates who have gone to places like Milan and Allergan, and they're more biotechnology. They're more aligned with the skill sets that you might get from neuropharmacology or from toxicology, or from even the biotechnology, biomedical science degree. So I think this is actually obviously determined by the industry who happens to be hiring at that moment, rather than the courses. I would say I do know that some of my toxicology graduates in the past have secured jobs, for example, in biomedical divisions of things like Boston Scientific. So I do know it has happened. I can't speak with any more precision, not having deep insight into how those companies are hiring at the moment. So I'm afraid, Shane, that's about as good as I can get. I wonder whether anybody else could improve. I'd be happy if they could.
Yeah, I'm just speaking for the Biotech Masters in Biotechnology. I mean, a lot of our graduates are going to companies more like Regeneron, Pfizer's, Janssen in Cork. I know the person specifically asking about Galway. It just tends to be that there's a preponderance of medical device companies in around the Galway area, and they are often looking for engineers. That's true. So the for the MSc in biotechnology, students are going to places like Baxter in Castlebar, Charles River in Ballina, Regeneron in Limerick, Pfizer's in Cork, Janssen in Cork. They'll be the big employers there. But I'm sure there are opportunities for biology, MSc biotech graduates in Boston and Medtronic as well. They're just less frequent. There's a question from, sorry, just maybe someone else wants to add something else to that.
Yeah, if I could just maybe add to what Conor has said, that for the Masters in Cancer Research, that again, there's a lot of the graduates are actually being hired. It's quite active at the moment by companies like Regeneron, Allergan, Baxter, Abbott. So again, there's a good track record there in terms of graduates from that program being hired pretty quickly. On the other side, it can often give an opportunity for a student to see if they would like a research career or not. And during the process of the Masters, when they have, there is this 2-semester research Masters project, so it gives a student a really good understanding of whether they would like to pursue a career in Master in research, but it also gives them the opportunity during that period to maybe plan for research funding, such as the Irish Research Council stipend, with their particular supervisor as well, or indeed with another supervisor in the area as well. So that's just a little addition to what Conor had mentioned.
And there's a question there from Bridget asking about applying for an MSc PhD in microbiology, bacteriology for academic year 22-23. When would be the best time to start reaching out to potential supervisors? Well, it's probably, I would say for a PhD, the sooner the better, and now is perfectly fine. The MS, it depends on which type of MSc, research MSc you're considering. But if it's a funded, 2 years MSc, research MSc, probably now is fine as well. In many cases, to take a student on for a PhD, you have to apply for funding of some kind to support the research project, and those kind of funding applications need to go in as soon as possible. So if you're really thinking about a PhD, I'd say now is the time to be talking to potential supervisors about that. Yeah, and I see Paul makes a good point there that a summer placement is a good idea as well to get the lab experience that you might need to stand a good chance of getting onto a PhD program. Definitely consider that.